Guys, hey, guys, 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 we did it. We killed Stadia.
You probably don't care about Google Stadia. Very few people did, otherwise it would still be here.
It's not.
Stadia was a cloud gaming service birthed by Google, which is a very big tech company. If you would like more information about this big tech company, you could probably find it on Yahoo or Facebook. Google Stadia was said to be the next big step in gaming, allowing you to game anywhere, at any time, without even needing a console. As long as you have a good stable internet connection. And a device like an Android TV, a PC, a phone, or even a tiny hockey puck.
I'm pretty sure there's a word for something like that. I guess we'll never know.
The idea was for a service that would allow you to game through the cloud. It would eliminate the need for you to buy a fancy new console that would just end up making your living room or hands look cool, and instead let you use the devices you already own.
Like this rock.
It would give a new life to our older devices by turning them into gaming machines, even if they were very underpowered. The possibilities with Stadia were endless. Imagine being able to play the games that you love anywhere you go on any device, as long as you have the internet. Imagine never having to wait for another download or update to complete while your friends wait for you and always being ready to jump into a game. Imagine being able to seamlessly switch between devices as the location you're gaming changes. Imagine being able to not just share your gaming experience with people, but also let them experience it for themselves. Imagine a mega sandwich with different types of smoked meats and cheese. Delicious. And imagine not having to constantly upgrade your software or console to reach new limits as gaming, graphics and penis physics improve. Stadia was Google's big attempt to break into the gaming market and establish itself as a competitive gaming brand that would compete with the likes of Sony's PlayStation, Nvidia's GeForce Now, Amazon's Luna, Microsoft's Xbox Cloud Gaming, Sega's Genesis, and Nintendo's Pokemon trading cards.
And look where that got it. Dead.
The concept of a platform like Google Stadia was a good one that could have revolutionized the way we game in the future. It initially sounded like a good way to enhance the gaming experiences that we were already enjoying, and made me excited to see how the service could grow and get better in the future. It could have grown to a point where it was one of the big names in gaming that would eliminate the need for you to constantly upgrade your console and always be able to offer the latest games. It could have been amazing.
But boy, was the execution done terribly.
Stadia was formally announced at a gaming development conference in March 2019, and it was weird, to say the least. The first thing that happened was the CEO dude going on stage and announcing that he's, you know what, I'll just let him say it himself.
I'm actually not a big gamer, though I do play FIFA 19 quite a bit.
This was the moment that the cracks started to show. The last thing that gamers want to hear is that their gaming experience is in the hands of someone whose favorite game is FIFA. Luckily, the rest of the presentation took a turn for the better. The more the clever people spoke, the better the idea started looking. They announced features that could actually change the way that we consume gaming, adding features that will enhance the overall experience of sharing our gaming moments. By the end of the presentation, it felt like Google was onto something good, but was destined to succeed. They offered various levels of streaming quality, with the lowest setting requiring a minimum of 10 megabits per second to run stable, and quality going all the way up to 4K 60 frames per second if your connection speed allowed for it. They even stated that the service would be future-proof, as it would eventually allow for up to 8K quality streaming as technology and the gaming landscape evolves. As mentioned before, You would be able to use the service across multiple devices, and the experience was going to be seamless, as you could go from playing a game on your TV in your living room, to playing on your phone on the toilet, to playing on your computer at work.
All of that without even having to wash your hands.
You were going to be able to share certain parts of your game with your friends, and even allow them to play that specific part of the game to see if they rank higher on the food chain. Streamers were going to be able to allow fans to jump into their game directly from the stream, and not just play the game in general, but be able to play it live with them. People watching the stream would also be able to jump into that game, using the same save state as what was in the stream, so that you could try that part of the game for yourself. One of the coolest features announced was Stadia's integration with YouTube, where you would be able to watch a video about a game, and then have a button that would allow you to jump into that game and play it within a few seconds without installs or roadblocks. You would also be able to save or stream your gaming sessions directly to YouTube through Stadia, without having to jump through different hoops first.
I've said it once and I'll say it again. Wait, what were we talking about?
To sweeten the whole concept of Stadia making it big, Google even announced that they will be opening their own gaming studio to create Stadia exclusive games. One of the main things that separate the big names in gaming is their exclusives. PlayStation has The Last of Us remastered, remade and released. Nintendo has Luigi, and Xbox has Action News Heroes. Most third-party games will be made available on different platforms, but it's those exclusive titles that draw us in again and again. Google also created their own controller that looks pretty standard at first glance, but the Stadia controller would connect directly to your Wi-Fi instead of a console or other devices. This would allow the controller to have less input latency as it connects directly to the Google data centers. Google would be able to achieve all of this by tapping into the other resources that they already have access to, such as owning YouTube, as well as the fact that they already have data centers strategically located all over the globe, in case they want to try and take over the world. Out of all the companies that would have been able to make a service like Stadia work and flourish, Google was in the best possible position.
I saw it in this book called The Kama Sutra.
Stadia launched in November 2019, but only in 14 countries. And most people were not impressed with what the service had to offer. Most of the criticism revolved around the lack of promised features and available games on the service at launch. To start off, 4K quality was only available to users that used the Chromecast Ultra, even if they had a paid subscription to Stadia. To make things even more complicated, only Chromecast devices that came with the Founders Edition of Stadia could play Stadia. If you owned a Chromecast Ultra that didn't come with the Founders Edition, you would have to wait for a future update to even be able to access the service. And to make matters even worse, some of the games were not even natively rendered in 4K, and would instead use upscaling technology to give a better image quality.
Yes. Technology. I also know that word.
If you were excited to try these services on your phone at launch, you were out of luck, unless you owned a Google Pixel device. Support for other Android devices only came a few months later, and iOS users had to wait for more than a year to be able to access the services on an Apple phone, mainly due to the Apple industry being so anal. On the other hand, if you wanted to purchase games to play on the service, you had to use the mobile app, as the store was not available on Chromecast or PCs. Even the trophy support was absent at launch, leaving a lot of gamers without a purpose to exist.
Am I even playing a game if I don't get rewarded for playing the game? No.
The friends lists were all screwed up, and the share with friends features were absent as well. The ability for streamers to invite fans to join them in their game from the streams was also missing. The ability to record your gameplay was there, but there was no way of accessing the recordings around the time of launch. The ability to play a game from YouTube wasn't available and never came to fruition. Imagine the selling power they could have if they could immediately offer the game to us to play without having to think about the purchase. The main reason I'm a console gamer is the convenience, and the more convenient the experience, the more time and money I'll want to spend on that experience. There was supposed to be 2 tiers, which was a free tier that anyone could use and was capped at 1080p, as well as a paid tier which gave you access to features such as higher quality streams and benefits such as free games on a monthly basis. At launch, the free-to-play option also wasn't available and wouldn't be made available for a whole 5 months.
Do you understand how long 5 months is? It's almost enough time to do your taxes.
Being able to play your games through the cloud was cool and all, but not offering the features that gamers wanted and would make your platform unique gave the service very little to make it stand out in an already competitive market. Unlike the prison industry, the gaming industry is an extremely difficult one to break into. Just ask Soulja Boy. Even a company as big as Microsoft had to endure multiple years of losses of their monies before the Xbox brand became profitable to a degree. They had to keep throwing money after money at the Xbox brand and keep improving it until gamers finally accepted it as a major brand competitor in the gaming market.
And here we have Stadia, trying to speedrun their success.
There were a lot of mistakes that were made during the launch of Stadia. They should have waited just a little bit longer and improved the service just a little bit more to give a better first impression to early adopters, instead of making them feel like beta testers. They should have had a bigger library of games at launch that included titles that we were actually excited to play, instead of giving us games that we have already completed several years ago. They should have pushed more to get a form of a feature that allows people to launch a game from YouTube to work, as it would have drawn in so many new players, or even just get the word out there. And they should have advertised Stadia better. If it was supposed to be for everyone, then why did they forget to let everyone know about it?
Okay, I like you too, bye. So, no one in my family even knew that Stadia existed. And I'm pretty sure now they think I'm crazy.
Stadia launched right before a time when more and more games were purchased and consumed than ever before. They received the best possible conditions to succeed, and they blew it. You would think that with the backing of a company as big as Google, it would be plastered all over our devices and services, incentivizing us to try it out. But outside of myself, no one else in my family seemed to know or care that it existed. It seemed that even Google wasn't entirely sure what Stadia was supposed to be. After some time, Stadia did start pulling up its socks and released a lot of features that were initially promised but missing, while also tweaking services to be the best they could be. They even opened a second Stadia studio and acquired an additional studio to develop games solely for the platform. Google would splash out millions of dollars on big-name games such as Red Dead Redemption 2 just to make the service more appealing to consumers. The Stadia library grew with more and more top-tier games being made available on the service. In my opinion, one of the biggest achievements that Stadia had was having a not perfect but stable version of Cyberpunk 2077 run on their platform, while other consoles were struggling to launch the game without exploding. For a while, it seemed that things might turn around for Stadia in the future as the service became more and more appealing. Connections and the platform became more stable. Communication features became available and the gaming library became good, although it didn't have any games that truly distinguished it. As time went on, they managed to turn Stadia into something truly unique and enjoyable in the gaming space.
But the damage was already done. The first taste of Stadia that people had was generally disappointing, and people didn't care to have another bite of it.
Stadia ended up having a smaller than predicted audience, which meant that Google stopped caring and started scaling back some of its plans, shifting Stadia's focus. In February 2021, Google shut down their Stadia gaming studios and cancelled any games they were busy developing. Stadia decided to shift its focus towards only being a platform that provides third-party content over the cloud, as opposed to being a full gaming division in Google that had its own ambitions. What was once a project full of hope quickly became a shell of its former vision, but that did not stop developers from working on Stadia, trying to provide more features and improve the overall gaming experience. On the 29th of September 2022, Google dropped an A-bomb on Stadia staff, enthusiasts and adopters when they announced that Stadia was already dead, but still had a few months left on life support due to the overall lack and interest in the service. They announced that they will refund any games that Stadia users have purchased on the platform in full. Suddenly, all of the storefront features were disabled alongside this announcement. It came so suddenly, but even the platform and gaming developers didn't really know about this until just before the news broke to the public. Some developers were still busy working on features when suddenly everything came to a halt. Games that were in development or coming to Stadia were instantly cancelled, and features developers were actively working on providing were no longer going to be implemented in the future. Parts of the service remained usable for a few months, as users could still play their previously purchased games, but they could no longer purchase any new games to play,
leaving you with no real option, except for actually buying a console in the end.
Google pulled the final Stadia plug on 18th January 2023, adding it to a long growing list of failures by Google. The technology behind Stadia will not be completely lost and forgotten, and instead be utilized in other sections of Google. So somewhere in the future, you might be seeing parts of Stadia appear in projects by other gaming developers, or in new services that Google will end up killing as well.
With the idea of Stadia as a gaming brand finally being dead and swimming with the fish, it is now much easier to look back and see the real reason why Stadia failed.
It was probably fucking Lex Luthor.